Hello there booktube, my name is Daniel, welcome back to my channel Guilty Feet. Today I'm going to review a book that I came to because it was named in the top 10 notable books of 2024 in the New York Times, despite the fact that it was written in 1950, so 75 years earlier. Originally written in 1950 in Hungarian and only translated in 2023. The book I'm talking about is called Crematorium by I'm just going to take a stab. Debreczeni, translated from the Hungarian in the last couple of years by a gentleman called Paul Ochivari, who, according to this blurb, also died in 2024. Written 75 years ago, only recently translated into English, and it shows up last year in the notable books of 2024. It's a Holocaust memoir. I don't read a lot of Holocaust memoirs. My family actually removed from, I don't have any ancestors that were in Eastern Europe in the 30s and 40s. My family was in the UK some 50, 60 years before that even. Which is not a reason not to read Holocaust memoirs, but it's not something that's part of my family's history. I did, about 30 years ago, I did binge a whole bunch of books about the Holocaust by Primo Levi, starting with If This Is a Man, and this is an edition with the truce as well. These are sort of two novellas. If This Is a Man, originally published in 1947, so these are both sort of contemporaneous, both people who had spent time in Auschwitz, writing very soon after their liberation with a clear eye. This was translated in English first in the end of the 50s, so sort of 10, 15 years after that, and it took 70 plus years for this book to be translated. But I read If It's a Man. I think I took this copy from my great aunt's apartment. I've also read The Periodic Table by Primo Levi. Bought this in 1994, according to this. The Drowned and the Saved by Primo Levi. I read The Sixth Day by Primo Levi. Some of these are short stories, some of these are memoirs, some of these are fictions. Just the writing is sort of, and mostly translated by the same team, the same one or two people, or maybe not. Translated the Italian, Primo Levi was writing. That's The Wrench. I've got this copy of If Not Now, When. Im Lo Achshav Ematai is that's that translation of I believe it's a psalm. And it's actually got my sister-in-law's name in it, her maiden name. So she's been married 30 years and is a grandma. So I must have taken that book from her back then. And Moments of Reprieve. So a whole bunch. What have I got there? 7 Primo Levi books that I read back in the late 80s, early 90s, but it's been a while. But when I saw this book had been surfaced as a notable book, I thought I'll pick it up and give it a go. And it's a terrific translation. It's a bit daunting anytime you pick up a work like this. Is it going to be this is a ridiculous thing for a reader to say, reading about witness testimony of the Holocaust, if it's a difficult read. But anytime it's like, am I going to be able to slog my way through this? And you don't want that. My own laziness and incapacity for effort to come between me and what this person has to say and has to tell us. Actually, this has been wonderfully translated. It's very accessible. I'm not suggesting for 1 second it's a light read, but it is something that is readable. And there are 3 distinct stages to the book. The first is in the cattle car attached to a train on the way to Auschwitz. And let's say the author, prior to the war, had been a journalist in Budapest, and this is all written with a real journalist's eye for finding the story, and the little bits of humanity that he notices while these Jewish prisoners are being dehumanized, I think is what make the book. So, for example, a man suffering nicotine withdrawal, and he describes his hands keep wandering up to his face, forgetting he doesn't actually have a cigarette, but he just doesn't know what to do with himself while he's waiting, while he's being transported to Auschwitz. And they get to Auschwitz, and then there's a selection where half the group, the elderly, the infirm, are sent in one direction and never seen or heard of again, and the lucky group are given the privilege of working 80-hour days, subsisting on a diet of sort of dirty water and whatever hunks of bread they can barter and steal from each other. It's all the horrors that you imagine are here, dispassionately presented, clearly described in ways that I think are worth your time. One of the things that I think stands out in this book that I hadn't got so much of elsewhere is the hierarchy within the prisoners, so that they are sometimes randomly appointed to be in charge of a group or to manage a bunk, and the cruelty that the kapos display towards their fellow prisoners, so that the Germans, the Nazis, have very little to do with the prisoners, because they've created this system where the prisoners police themselves, or prisoners with a tiny bit of privilege police the others, but sometimes with terrible brutality. And while I would not want to sit in judgment of anyone and how they behave in such terrible conditions, it's hard not to sometimes. At least we witness it through the eyes of the narrator here, and his feelings for those people who accept the appointment. There was not much choice, but the way they then carry out their duties and the cruelty they display towards their fellow prisoners is stark and terrible. In the last section of this book, the narrator finds himself in the cold crematorium of the title, which is a sort of a hospital camp. Essentially, large numbers of Jewish prisoners left there to die. Typhus is rampant, malnutrition, obviously, just starvation, as well as any of the other horrors visited on them by kapos or guards or wherever it may be. It's a cruel and a terrifying world that I can't do justice to, but I think the author does here really well. Again, this is not something that I could recommend as a fun read, but I think this is a terrific version of its kind and well worth your time. That is Cold Crematorium by Josef Debreczeni, translated by Paul Ochvari from the Hungarian. Thank you. God bless. Bye.